Reagan is going to demonstrate just how to pressure on top. If you can see, that near arm is up on the shoulder and this far arm is pulling that hip. And the idea is to make sure the hip doesn't ever get away from you. So pulling with the both of your arms here and driving with your legs. So she's going to drive with her legs, pull with the arms. Go ahead, Reagan. And then once she does that, she's going to switch, pulling with the arms, driving with the legs. You know you're doing it right when your partner is moving. So as they're moving there, and now Reagan's starting to get a little high because her head is over Rex's shoulder, so she's just got to sink back, make sure her head never goes above your opponent's. So that right there is just pressure on top. Rex is going to go over the next drill here, when the opponent is on their belly, just ways to flip them over. 3 main ways just to flip somebody over, and it's just getting handled. So half Nelson. So you're going under the arm on top of the head. And now once you are there, you're gonna drive straight. If it's a clock, 11 o'clock on the clock, and then pulling that nice and tight. So there's one way, is just a half Nelson. So that's under the arm. Next one is over the arm. So he's gonna go over that handle, which is an arm bar. And he's just gonna drive that elbow to the ear and flip over from there, elbow to ear, good. And then finally, the third way to flip somebody over on their belly is just a cross face, across above that elbow, so right on that tricep. Now he's just gonna drive Reagan to that shoulder, and that's good for now. We'll get into other turns right off of that. Next, Reagan is gonna show how to pin somebody. She's going to start off in a reverse half. So as she drives that over nice and tight, she's over top of that, making sure this top arm doesn't get across and that bottom arm there doesn't get through. So she's going to have her legs spread, driving on her toes with her head up, making a T. So driving in, I always say kind of making a stingray when they stick themselves to the ground, and then just nice and tight there. So the next one, she's going to lock around his head and arm. So her lock, if you notice, her lock is above the shoulder. If it's below the shoulder, lock below the shoulder, that arm can move. So she's going to lock above that shoulder, lock above that shoulder. Now it's nice and tight, that arm can't move. Sometimes you can even use your head to help make that lock. And now she's just gonna make a T, squeeze, put your head next to your lock. Now pull your arms into you and circle to his head. So make sure you're circling to that head. Pulling up on those arms. Rex, stop. So Reagan should be pulling that arm to her and sinking her hips down while driving in. Good. Next one is an over-under. So Reagan has one arm over, one arm under. Reagan, one arm over, one arm under.
That's 2 arms under.
Okay, so now if Rex is fighting into Reagan, she's gonna pull up on that near arm and drive that other side. If Rex is going away, she's gonna sink her hips and pull that arm down and pull that other side into her. Pulling that other arm into her. Good. And then finally a headlock position. She's gonna have that lock once again above that shoulder there. She's gonna be on her heels, driving in off her heels. If she feels herself starting to get too high and pulled over, what she's gonna do is put her heels in the mat and do like a leg curl. So as she's starting to get pulled over, she's gonna drop her hips, slide them down. And make sure you're constantly at a T when you are pinning somebody and driving into them. Next, Rex is gonna show a mat return. Just starting off with a cross wrist trip. 2 on 1 or cross wrist, he's just gonna trip. Good. Next is a lift. As he lifts, he's gonna have his lock in the middle, nice and tight, elbows are tight, step to the corner, pop his hips. So he's gonna lift and then bring her down, and he's gonna use his left arm here to pull her hip down so she goes flat to her belly. One more time with the lift. So he's gonna pull that left arm to make sure her hips hit. So as he steps a corner, he's gonna lift, pull that left hip down. And then finally, he couldn't lift. He's just gonna go with a T-bar or a double lift here. So couldn't lift, just lift, step in that corner into that lift. Good. Next, Reagan's got a 2-on-1. She's just gonna drive the knee up the butt and drive Rex down flat. So just a 2-on-1, using that knee to be able to drive him flat. And then once she gets there, she's gonna transition to either a bar or a half. Good. So that here is the base foundation for our top series.